What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Will Brinson. I'm your host. Week 3 NFL recap. What a week it was. We're going to break down everything about the action on the field. Russell Wilson went bananas again. The Cowboys and the Seahawks.
Bananas.
Bananas.
Beat
went bananas.
Why are we all singing Gwen Stefani? I don't know.
Because we're awesome.
Atlanta collapsed. We got another Bengals-Eagles tie and so much more. But before we do that, a couple of housekeeping items to hit you with. Subscribe to the podcast. If you listen to the podcast and you don't subscribe, come on. If you're a fan of the podcast, go to Spotify and follow, and go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe. Hook us up. Help us out. We love it. And you love it. You love the podcast. You want to help us out. Leave a 5-star review. If you have a question about a team, if you want to roast me about the Bears, by all means, leave a 5-star. But you don't need to roast me and leave a 1-star review. Roast me and leave a 5-star review. Download, of course, all the episodes. And because we love you guys, we have decided, meaning me and Ryan and John, have decided to give away a 65-inch television and a power station. It's a free that's right, Ryan. We're giving away a TV. It's a free contest. You can get a 65-inch television for free. Just go to cbssports.com/pick6giveaway. I thought I was joking when I started this, but I'm not. We are giving away a 65-inch television. cbssports.com/pick6giveaway. The link is in the episode description, so you can go find that way. The giveaway ends October 25th. You just go, and you can win a TV. Can't be related to me. Can't be related to Ryan or John. Can't work at CBS. But if you listen to the podcast, you don't actually know us, not related to us, go win your television. cbssports.com/pick6giveaway.
Wait, Brinson, I think they can know us. They just can't be related to us.
Right. That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. So like my Facebook friends, I should be telling all of them to sign up because they can win. And then when they win, I can make them feel guilty for not I got them. They owe me something because I got them in the contest.
Totally.
That's not how this works, right?
And also, if you want to see my skeptical face when Breech said what he just said, go to cbssports.com, go to youtube.com/pick6 and subscribe. All our episodes are on YouTube. Yes, right.
By the way, the 65-inch television, you can use it to watch us on YouTube.
Or on CBS Sports HQ, our 24/7 streaming sports network. Yeah, that's a good point. Much better promo by you. Okay, let's get to week 3. We'll start with Sunday Night Football. And gosh darn it, man. I guess I should have seen this coming because, 2020 is sort of screwed up. But Pete Prisco is just peacocking all over everybody's faces, and he's doing it again after the Packers beat the Saints 37-30. The Packers plus 3.5 covered, obviously. The over 52, a laugh riot. And Aaron Rodgers, 30 points in fantasy. Alvin Kamara, 30. Drew Brees, 29 points. Oh, I had the Saints and the under, and I believe, if I recall correctly, on our CBS Sports HQ show on Friday when we did picks, I mocked both of you because Ryan had the over and Breech had the Packers, and I said, you're both wrong. You're both morons. But you know who the real moron is? Me.
Oh.
Me. No, just kidding. I'm not the moron. The real moron is Sean Payton, who takes Drew Brees out the field and puts Taysom Hill in there to run the read option with no Alvin Kamara on the field, and then it results in a fumble, and the Packers take all the momentum back and go down and kick a freaking field goal, and they get a touchdown and win by 10. Stupid. They won by 7. Sorry, the Saints got a field goal.
Taysom Hill fumble happened at 12:23 in the fourth quarter. So it's an RPO. First of all, he should have handed off because the guy who stripped him of the sack, it was the indicator that you hand off the ball instead of trying to run the RPO.
Yes, Zadarius Smith. He's if you read him and he's coming at you, maybe get rid of the ball.
Even we know that, and we haven't played organized football in some time.
Ever.
And two, I'll point this out. Our buddy Michael David Smith tweeted this after the game. 2 years, $21 million, 2 carries for 6 yards on Sunday night, 1 catch for 1 yard, and the fourth quarter fumble, and the score was tied 27-27. The next series, I will point out, New Orleans got the ball to 25, moved to 5 yards, 3 and out. It was 30-27 at that point. I was sort of leaning towards going for it, 6:43 to go in the fourth quarter. I understand you're on your 30-yard line. What do you got to lose? I mean, what's going to happen is you're going to turn the ball over. Your defense isn't playing well, and Aaron Rodgers is going to continue to do what Aaron Rodgers has done all season, play extremely angry. Meanwhile, we should talk about the Packers because I know Packers fans have said to us in the past.
You're right. You're right. We should.
I'll say one last thing about the Saints. Drew Brees is who we thought he was, but his numbers, if you just look at the stat line, like, oh, great job. That was not a great, quote-unquote, game by Drew Brees. And I just wonder now.
The Packers' entire offense is Drew Brees dropping back, looking deep, being too scared to pull the trigger, and then throwing a dump down pass to Alvin Kamara.
Well, and that one of those plays summed up the Saints' entire offense this year was that touchdown pass to Kamara where Brees threw it 2 yards downfield, and then Kamara did the rest of the work. So, if you just look at the box score, or 6 weeks from now when we're looking at Drew Brees' stats, and we're like, oh, he threw that 52-yard touchdown against the Packers. He was on fire because this is what he's done all season. Week 1, there wasn't a lot of practice in August. Let's let them get some chemistry before we judge them. Now it's 3 weeks in the season. Drew Brees looks the exact same that he's looked for the past 2 weeks and at the end of last season. And if I'm the Saints, I'm a little bit worried.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago we were saying, the Buccaneers should have a lot to be worried about if they lose to the Saints. Yeah, I ain't worried about the Buccaneers. I ain't worried about
Hey, quick trivia question. How many teams in the NFC East and NFC South combined are over 500?
Is it just one?
That is the correct answer.
Is it the Buccaneers? Tom Brady?
Buccaneers are the only team in those two divisions over 500. Pretty incredible. Again, Ryan, you're 100% right. We don't need to sit here and talk about why the Saints lost this game. The Packers are 3-0. I thrashed them. Many people thrashed them. They were lucky last year, and they, came out and played the Vikings and the Lions. They haven't played anybody, but they went to New Orleans and they played a Saints team that was coming off an embarrassing Monday Night Football loss against the Raiders. And they played really well, and they put up 37 points. Aaron Rodgers is playing awesome.
Mm-hmm.
He is – you know what? Maybe he won't do this the whole season.
Maybe
the Packers. Maybe he will. I don't know. But I do know that – and I think that this will be – people will say, oh, it's overblown, blah, blah, blah.
What is?
They drafted Jordan Love, and it pissed him off. And now he's setting everybody on fire. That's what he's doing. Allen Lazard, 8 targets, 6 catches, 146 yards and a touchdown. He's great. Jay Sternberger was coming on strong late in the game. Robert Tonyan, their other tight end, was coming on. Aaron Jones, 16 carries, 69 yards and a touchdown. Jamal Williams wasn't very effective. But Rodgers was throwing bombs off bootlegs all day long. I will say that the Packers offense appeared to be pretend like you're running left aggressively, bootleg right, throw to tight end in the flat, let tight end get 12 yards, and the Saints couldn't figure it out, which is a little frustrating as someone who's backing the Saints.
Well, I mean, Brinson, if you figured it out, what does it say about the Saints that they couldn't figure it out?
It's concerning.
But
it is concerning.
I mean, Sean Payton is the same guy who wore like a basic B mask. Not that there's anything wrong with it. Like, it's one of the, the little like medical mask, but then he flipped it around at halftime. Do you think it was good luck or just he forgot?
Yeah, who knows? But I mean, the other side of that coin is that the Packers refused to play Drew Brees underneath and just let him complete all those passes. So maybe that was part of the game.
Sure.
I will say this, and you talked about it a little bit with the drafting of Jordan Love and then A.J. Dillon in the second round. I think this was intentional. I made this joke earlier on HQ. Remember Bruce? I don't know. Do you know who Bruce Banner is?
The Incredible Hulk?
The Incredible Hulk?
What did he say?
Is this the Packers drafted Jordan Love to piss off Aaron Rodgers and make him go Incredible Hulk on him?
No. Bruce Banner would always say, don't make me angry. You won't like me when I'm angry.
Yeah.
Matt LaFleur was like, you know what? Let's make Aaron Rodgers angry because then he goes crazy in the wrong direction. We won't let him in on it. He'll get fired up draft night, and he will stay fired up until, the end of
Question for you. Mm-hmm. Did the Bruce Banner thing land on HQ?
Well, Ike Eric Casillas knows everything.
I know.
Oh, no, he knew exactly. I said, Ike, remember Bruce Banner? He goes, oh, yeah, Incredible Hulk, just like Breech just did. So
that's what I said, too. If you don't know who Bruce Banner is, what are you doing in life?
Aaron Rodgers knows.
The Packers' offensive line is really good.
The Packers.
I have questions about the Packers' defense.
Fair enough.
But I will say this. The only team that really stood between the Packers and the Super Bowl last year, they went 13-3. They beat the Seahawks in the playoffs. They just got their ass kicked by the 49ers twice. And the 49ers are pretty banged up. So, all right, going into the season, the Packers were like minus 110 or like plus 125 to win the division. What would you make them to win the NFC North now?
The NFC North?
Just the division.
Oh, it'd be like
800.
negative 350.
That's what I'm saying. They'd be like minus 400. They're gonna come back to earth. Are they gonna come back to earth? I don't know. I don't.
Well, here's okay. If you're the fan of another NFC team, if you're a fan of the Seahawks, the Cardinals, or if you're in the NFC, you're NFC North, you're a Vikings or Bears fan, and you're wondering why you could still possibly win the division, even though the Packers already beat you to a pulp, like they did to the Vikings in Week 1 and Lions in Week 2. You say, well, now that we're 3 weeks into the season, the Packers have beat an 0-3 team, a 1-2 team, and a 1-2 team. And although Aaron Rodgers threw for 283 yards and 3 touchdowns against the Saints defense, you know who was even better? Derek Carr. He threw for 284 yards and 3 touchdowns against this very same Saints defense not 6 days ago. So I can see someone saying, hey, let's hold our horses on the Packers because they still haven't played. They're playing the Falcons in Week 4 who are 0-3.
They play the Falcons next week?
Yeah.
What's the over-under on that? We got to hammer that.
75. So
it's not high enough.
Is we don't know because the Saints haven't looked as good as I think everybody thought they were going to be. That, I think this Packers game in Week 6, because they have a bye after that Falcons game, they play Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, and that might be the first time where we're saying, all right, this is where they're playing a team that's supposed to be equally as good. But I mean, the Packers are awesome. They're one of the 2 best teams in the NFC. I think the only argument you can make is maybe the Seahawks, and that's the bottom line.
So my mea culpa for the Packers too. I preach all offseason about consistency at various positions and at the coaching staff and the quarterback, et cetera, et cetera. And I didn't follow my mantra with the Packers. That's on me. Like they have the consistency. They've improved from year 1 to year 2. It's a lot like the Cardinals. I know the Cardinals lost. We'll get to that. All right, so let me ask you, a quick hot take on the Saints. Michael Thomas is more important to the Saints than Drew Brees.
I mean,
that's not even hot.
But he runs a bunch of slants, and so he's one less.
Yeah, they get. But
that's all Drew Brees can throw right now, Ryan.
Right.
I understand that. And
if you add Thomas in there, like Trey, what did Trey? Like they weren't separate. They weren't doing anything on the perimeter.
No, I'm not arguing with you. I'm just saying it's not like he was getting open deep. And Michael Thomas is one of the best receivers in the game. I think Michael Thomas is more important. And I think the fact they invested so much money in Taysom Hill, I just don't understand what they're doing.
Taysom Hill is just annoying. All right, so who was more impressive? The Packers?
Yes.
With their win in Seattle? That's wrong. With their win in New Orleans, or the Seahawks with their win at home against the Cowboys?
The Packers.
I think so. I think the Seahawks offensively played a better game. Russell Wilson.
Well, let's talk about that game.
The Packers went on the road. But wait, I got one more question before we go to this game. And I know Debo's going to kill me, but I'm going to ask you my question anyway, and you can it's a quick answer. What is the Saints' record right now if Jameis Winston had been their starting quarterback for the first 3 games?
0-3. All right. Let's go. Next.
1-2. I moved the game along 12 minutes in, like we planned as before the podcast started. I'm trying to adjust my focus here. And then you try to derail me, Breech. How dare you? Seahawks 38, Cowboys 31. The Seahawks covered plus 5.5 or minus 5.5, excuse me. The over hit, it smashed 69 total points.
Nice.
5 overs hit all over the place. I actually put it, like, if you put in props, Michael Gallup's prop hit, his over prop hit, Amari Cooper's over prop hit, CeeDee Lamb's over prop hit, DK Metcalf's over prop hit, Tyler Lockett's over prop hit. There were 4 100-yard receivers. Tyler Lockett, 9 catches, 100 yards, and 3 touchdowns. A monster game. Russell Wilson, 44 points. If you just played dudes from this game, you probably smashed in DFS. You played dudes from this game and the Colts defense, you crushed DFS. Dak Prescott, 32 points. Tyler Lockett, 28 points. What would you say Russell Wilson's MVP odds should be after week 3?
1 to 1,000.
That's stupid.
I am going to say that I'm going to wait till week 3 ends before I put those odds on.
Okay,
I need to see Lamar versus Patrick Mahomes.
That is – stop it. It's Russ is the number 1.
I would say Russ is minus 125.
If Patrick Mahomes throws 7 touchdowns tomorrow on Monday night against Lamar Jackson, Russ is negative 125.
Yes.
Russ has 14 touchdowns in 3 games. No one
He's
else.
on pace for 74 touchdowns. This is insane that
He's on pace
all
for
offseason, he spent all offseason saying,
75.
yeah, let me throw the ball more, and they do it, and now he is just they can never run the ball again. Just keep letting Russ cook.
The whole thing about let Russ cook is that we always knew the Seahawks would never let Russ cook because they're too conservative, and that's how Pete Carroll wants to operate, and they are letting him effing cook. I mean, they're throwing deep on first down play action, just bombs down the field. They should have had another touchdown, but DK Metcalf did the Deshaun Jackson thing, like waltzing into the end zone.
That is possibly the most unforgivable play in football. It's number 1, selfish. Number 1, it cost your team 7 points. Number 3 is stupid. Like, I don't understand the upside of that. And you got a stupid binky in your mouth, making it worse.
Did you just call DK Metcalf a selfish, stupid
I didn't call him
a-hole with a binky in his mouth?
No, he said what he did.
He did was stupid. I love DK Metcalf, but that is inexcusable. It didn't matter at the end of the day. But, I mean, in terms of infuriating things, that is – I don't know what would be more infuriating.
Pete Carroll said the lesson learned will help everybody. Unfortunately, we overcame it and didn't wreck the game for us, but it's a terrible play. It really is because he's got a touchdown. Just got to finish it off and just start celebrating too early. I guess if you're DK Metcalf, you're just not used to people walking you down.
There is no excuse that you can offer. None.
Yeah, this was not about being walked down. This was about strolling into the end zone to rub it into the Cowboys, and he didn't know there was a defender a yard behind him ready to knock the ball. This is just a dumb move. There was no
Trevon Diggs, the second Stephon Diggs' cousin, the second-round pick out of Alabama. I mean, and by the way, heady play by Trevon Diggs because a lot of dudes just give up or wave at it.
But yeah, name a worse play in the history of football than that.
Well, Deshaun Jackson is worse. Leon Letts is worse.
They were all the same type of play, though. That's my point.
Sure, it's unforgivable. Yeah, I mean, it's forgivable. You won the game, but it's
it's unforgivable if you lose because of that play.
The second worst play all time on my list, that Randy Bullock fake cramp hamstring pull.
Why are we bringing that up?
Oh, he missed. He missed. Oh, and he may have pulled a hamstring or a muscle, and there is complete elation.
Oh, God.
you know what's amazing is like you said Randy Bullock, and I'm just like, I don't know if you watching the YouTube, my eyes shoot to this little blue button. I'm like, I have a lot of Sharpies an incredible amount of Sharpies in my office. Like I have literally like 12
Weird
Sharpies.
flex, but okay.
Yeah, I just don't know why I like flicking the Sharpies up in the air and catching them when I'm watching football. But I use the Sharpies to write on the Roadcaster label thing.
Yeah.
And I'm proud to say that Randy Bullock, missing in week 1 for the Bengals against the Chargers, has occupied. We have a permanent lock on it. It is locked in permanently.
Oh, he missed.
I sleep at night thinking about that.
So I will say this, getting back to letting Russ cook. He is, but he is the best deep ball thrower, and it just more infuriating as to why they wouldn't let him throw the ball.
It's incredible.
Here's what someone asked me today. Is there any concern? And my answer was absolutely not. But is there any concern that if you continue to let Russ cook, he's going to come back down to earth?
No. Well, here's the thing with the cooking, the Russ chef work, is that he has to do it because the Seahawks defense is absolute dog doo. I mean, they are really bad. Mm-hmm. Like I know we don't want to talk about the team that lost too much, but Mike McCarthy, man, two things about it. One, the down the stretch, the offensive game plan for the Cowboys when they were trying to go tie it up. And bear in mind, so they are up, what are they up? 31. What was the score? It was 31-30 after Greg Zuerlein makes that field goal. Then Russ goes down and hits DK Metcalf for a touchdown, 29-yard touchdown that makes it 36-31. So they're up 5 points. There is a 2-point conversion attempt that fails, but there's a roughing the passer penalty that allows the Seahawks to make another attempt. They get the 2-point conversion. So the Cowboys are down 7 points, and they get the ball back with
147.
147 on the clock. That was the most lackadaisical 2-minute offense I have ever seen. It was pathetic. You've been throwing bombs down the field. Like Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, and Amari Cooper are open on every vertical throw. And they threw a screen pass to Zeke Elliott, which is one of the worst play calls you will ever see. It was abysmal operation by the Cowboys. And the fact that they didn't attack vertically every single drive blew my mind. Like you could have scored 100 points in that Seahawks defense. They are terrible.
Let me ask you this.
Well, to put Brinson's point in perspective, the Cowboys went 49 yards during that 2-minute drill, which is theoretically good, but it took them 11 plays to do it. Why are you in an 11-play drive in the 2-minute drill? Like it was just beyond all thought. Although Dak Prescott almost pulled a wild touchdown out of his pants on that 3rd and 14 where he spun out of a sack, almost fell on the ground, stayed up by a centimeter, but then chucked an interception. That would have been
terrible throw by Dak, and he was panicked because they were out of touchdowns, out of timeouts.
Why is Breech talking about an almost touchdown? He threw it a triple coverage, and you could barely see the Cowboys offensive player behind all the line of Seattle defenders.
Yeah, he threw it so confidently. I was like, oh man, this is a touchdown. And then all of a sudden, I was like, what? Why did you throw to that? I think he spun out and was like, oh my God, we don't have any timeouts. The clock is ticking down. I got to get rid of this. He should have thrown it away and had one more shot in the end zone. Very poor. Jason Garrett, like management by Mike McCarthy, in my opinion. The Cowboys defense, also terrible. These teams are going to be involved in a lot of overs over the next couple of weeks.
What are we paying Dak Prescott after that game?
My price tag didn't change.
Okay.
I mean, it's funny because he threw for 472 yards. Second straight week, he's gone over 450. Only 2 players in NFL history have ever gone over 450 in consecutive weeks, Dak Prescott and Jameis Winston. And the funny part is that Dak's now turning the ball over like Jameis. 2 interceptions, lost a fumble. The interception in the first half, the Seahawks scored a touchdown on the ensuing possession, and that ended up being a big one. So as good as Dak was, he just keeps making a couple just where you grit your teeth mistakes. So I don't know. You don't pay him less, but Jerry Jones. This explains why they can't decide whether or not to pay him,
or why you should have paid him 18 months ago.
They should have paid him 18 months ago.
I agree with actively that. Refreshing my sport. I'm trying to find this Packers Falcons.
All right. Well, why you do that? What happened in the Bills game?
There you go. Good job. Let's go to the Bills and Rams. Oh my God. Well, just welcome to hell. Pete Prisco is just. Josh Allen.
You know what's funny? 2020 has been a disastrous year for just about everybody except Pete Prisco. He's having a great year.
Pete has no kids, 3 cats. The only thing he has to pay for in life is low tee shots and the extends or whatever, and cat hemorrhoid medicine. That's all Pete has to pay for.
Tanning bed doesn't pay for itself.
That's true. Yeah. He claims his tan is real.
The tanning bed's probably in his place. That way you don't have to pay for it.
He actually sleeps in a tanning bed. The Bills are 3-0 after beating the Rams 35-32. The Bills -2 wins. The over 46.5 hit easily. Josh Allen had a monster game. Jared Goff had a very nice game as well. And my man, Darrell Henderson, had a very good game. 17 points according to CBS Standard Fantasy, but I think it was actually higher in a lot of leagues. There was a very questionable – so the Bills had a 25 – was it 28-3?
28-3.
It was the same score as the Falcons in the Super Bowl. They had 28-3 lead and 25-point lead. Looked like they were going to obliterate the Rams. Rams were plus 600 on the money line, live
with
line.
5 minutes left in the third quarter.
Yeah, and the Rams just come storming back, take the lead 32-28, and then the Bills and Josh Allen marched down the field and got a very questionable defensive pass interference call on Darius Williams on 4th and 12 late in the game. Josh Allen, I think, threw a touchdown the next play or maybe 2 plays later. Bills hold on and win. It would have been the 3rd largest comeback in NFL history. The Bills are now 3-0 for the 2nd straight season. And Josh Allen Russell Wilson is the MVP right now, but we're 3 weeks in. Josh Allen is number 2, and Aaron Rodgers is right there as well. And Josh Allen has firmly entrenched himself into the discussion.
Yeah, it's amazing. 4 touchdowns this week. How many did you have last week? 4 or 5?
Yeah, he's been awesome.
And
he's good. He's good.
And they have him running the ball less, which is nice. Again, the week 1 game where he fumbled twice was extremely annoying. And
He's 24-33 for 311 yards, 4 passing touchdowns, 1 interception, and 1 rushing touchdown. He's just good.
And I'll say this, like the Bills obviously had a good season last year. You mentioned they started 3-0, they went to the playoffs. But Josh Allen was the reason they didn't get far in the playoffs. That game in Houston where he threw the ball over his head or whatever that was on their way to the loss. This year, this game is going to be something you look back on and go, okay, they were able to overcome the odds of staring defeat in the face after having a Falconian meltdown in the middle of the game. It looked like they were going to lose. It looked like they could not stop Jared Goff and Sean McVay and the Rams, and they did. And did they get lucky? Yeah, but you could point to 15 times the Patriots gotten lucky in the last 20 years, and it resulted in a win. This resulted in a win for the Bills, 3-0, and that's big for them for a couple of reasons. And number one, primarily, well, number two, the number one is that they have the confidence. Number two, they're still first place, a game clear of the Pats.
By the way,
I think I'm
Breech,
so.
you know the last time that a Bills quarterback threw for 300 passing yards in 3 straight games?
I'm guessing it was Jim Kelly.
That's correct. Do you know what year it was?
I'll guess
91.
93.
Oh, it was 92. Split the difference.
Oh, Wilson, you messed me up. If you wouldn't have guessed, I was going to guess 92.
92, and then Breech's like, Wilson's like 91.
I didn't want to one-up him. I don't want to be that Price is Right guy.
Okay. Do you know what the Bills did in 92?
They went to the Super Bowl.
That's correct.
What else happened in the Super Bowl?
Well, they lost the Super Bowl.
I'm going to say something about this game real quick.
Was 92 the In Living Color halftime show, by the way?
Maybe.
With Fire Marshal Bill?
Look, I feel like we were concerned about the Bills' defense going into this game. And so nothing about this game changed what I thought of the Bills. Josh Allen was phenomenal the first 2 weeks. He was phenomenal in this game. But the Bills' defense still looks like it has all these holes. And, they're going to get guys back from injuries. But they have a tough stretch of schedule coming up. They play the Raiders, the Titans, and the Chiefs in a row. This was a game where they almost blew a 28-3 lead. They got bailed out by a horrible pass interference call. And so I feel like you can really view this game in one of two ways. One, they were up 28-3. It's a game they deserve to win because you jump on a good team like that, that means you're a good team. Or they're a team that choked away. And, once the Rams went up, every fan in Buffalo was like, my God, we're going to lose it. This happens to us all the time. We don't win playoff games. We can't do anything. So I'm still like a little bit worried about the Bills' defense. Josh Allen's amazing.
Let me ask you this, though, because that's a fair point about the defense. But every defense this year that we thought was good has not been – they've been less than stellar. So which defense are you have whole, going in whole hog? And it feels like every other defense has been underwhelming.
Which defense in the entire NFL?
Like which defense has played up to your expectations?
Well, nobody's good because there wasn't any tackling in the preseason. There wasn't any tackling in the offseason. I was saying about these totals next week. The lowest total on the board right now in week 4, there is a 40 on Monday night or Thursday night with the Broncos and the Jets, which is just – I know we said we wouldn't complain about football, but Jesus, that game is terrible. And there's a 43, and that's it. Like, it's 45 and higher. I mean, it's just crazy.
And all the 1 p.m. overs hit on Sunday.
You're saying every single 1 p.m. game over hit?
That's to my knowledge.
You gotta steal. Take the. You were hanging out with Justin, one of our research guys.
Yeah, he does all the heavy lifting. He's awesome.
You're supposed to expound on that, but okay.
Great, I love him. He's from Altoona, PA. There you go. What else you want to know about him?
So I think the Rams are fine. Coming back in that game really did a lot to bolster my confidence in.
You know what? Jared Goff has actually played pretty well this year.
Darrell Henderson is freaking great.
Aaron Donald was a monster.
Aaron Donald was a monster.
Yeah, I am not concerned about. I mean, we talk about teams that lost today. I'm concerned about the Saints. I'm not concerned about the Rams.
Yeah, Rams are fine. Tough division. You have the Seahawks. But would you rather, if the Seahawks and Rams played, let's make it like a baseball thing. Seahawks and Rams play a 7-game series. Whoever first one of 4 wins. Who wins 4 games first? Seahawks or Rams?
I'm taking the Seahawks in 5.
I'm taking the Seahawks in 4.
Seahawks sweep?
I
think the Rams are a more complete team, but the Seahawks obviously have Russ, who's playing better.
And every game is 50 to 5.
I mean, the Rams will hang 40 on the Seahawks every time.
But that's
like
like
stop
saying,
anybody, man.
that's like saying you have a bunch of 320 hitters on your team, and then you have Nolan Ryan in his prime and no one else on the field. He's just throwing 120 miles an hour, and you might score what?
It's a very bizarre analogy that involves a pitcher with no fielders.
Well, you're talking about he's out there striking people out. That's the point. What's confusing about that? It doesn't matter.
I feel like it was a little confusing.
Well, you started with the baseball analogy 4 out of 7. I thought I would finish with the baseball.
Fair enough. All right, let's move on to the next game.
That's the last time Brinson's going to use a baseball analogy. I could tell by his tone.
I blew his mind.
Breech, that's your first strike. 2 more and you're out.
What's that? Oh, I can't wait to Harlan send you the cease and desist.
The Bears 30, Falcons 26. This is a tough one for Falcons.
Game,
this is tough for Dan Quinn. This is tough for Falcons fans. It's tough for me because and Mitchell Trubisky. That's right. Mitchell Trubisky benched in the middle of this game. The Bears covered +2.5, win outright. Obviously, the over 46 hits. Nick Foles is your leading fantasy performer, 23 points. Allen Robinson, 18 points. Jimmy Graham, 18 points. I want to say this before we dive into too much about this game. And by the way, the Falcons are the first team in NFL history to lose back-to-back games despite leading by 15-plus points in the fourth quarter in both games. That is unbelievable.
In very related news, Chicago Bears are the first team in NFL history to win 2 games in a single season where they were trailing by at least 16 points because they were also trailing in week 1 against the Lions. The Bears are the bizarro Falcons. They're like the opposite.
And they did it with different quarterbacks, too. That's the really crazy part.
That is the crazy part.
Okay, here's my thing about the Bears.
And it's trailing by 16 points in the fourth quarter, not at any point in the game.
I had some Bears fan, and I'm gonna give out his Twitter handle because he's a little douchebag.
Oh, boy.
What? He is.
Well, also apologize to our buddy Matt Snyder, who's not a douchebag.
I will not apologize to Snyder. I won't
Everybody
apologize to
Fornelli.
I won't apologize
Sean,
to Bleep. I won't apologize to anyone. This is at ONAZOL. Go tweet him out if you want. And I said I was going to tweet a smiley face emoji every time that the Bears allowed a touchdown for the rest of the entire season. And I did it like, they're getting blown out. I did it like 3 times. And you can't imagine how furious he is. Now, obviously, he replied, lit me up after the Bears win. And he's since changed his Twitter name to Saint Nick QB1. And this is my thing with the Bears. Like, Bears fans, you don't get to peacock around about this win.
Why not?
No, you don't get to do it. Brian's over there doing the bushwhacker dance from like the 90s. You don't get to do it because here's what happened. You're getting your ass kicked, and then they had to bench your starting quarterback and bring in Nick Foles to save the day. So do you think that this is a super sustainable situation where you're going to be good for the rest of the season? Or is this more likely the fact that you played the Lions, the Giants, and the Falcons, 3 trash teams with no defense at all, that Trubisky looked okay the first 2 weeks, and they got benched against the Atlanta Falcons before Nick Foles had to come in, and you're prancing around acting like you're 3-0 and you're going to win the Super Bowl, and Matt Nagy's going to be there with confetti falling on his face? Have you lost your minds, guys? This is not a good win. This is a moral loss, if anything. This is an actual victory and a moral loss. You won the football game. That's great. You're 3-0. You benched your starting quarterback. That's not a good thing. If you bench your starting quarterback in the middle of week 3 and you get a win, it's not a victory. It's a moral loss.
Brinson, in that guy's defense, I am just going to say that if you are going to bench your starting quarterback and Nick Foles is the guy you bring off the bench, that usually means you're going to be good the rest of the season. It's called the Foles
Carson
formula.
Wentz corollary, yeah. Look,
Foles formula.
So here's the text I got from our buddy Matt Snyder tonight. Hey, are you guys doing a podcast? I need Brinson to be mocked.
First of all, Snyder, thanks for listening.
And
just kidding. If he asks are you doing a podcast, like F you, buddy.
He actually said, when does it drop? So that's what he wants.
I love Snyder. He's the best.
And in typical Brinson fashion, instead of apologizing, he just doubles down and mocks a team that is 3-0. They are, in fact, 3-0. You said they're acting like they're 3-0. They're acting like they're 3-0 because they're 3-0.
This Bears team sucks.
And by the way, the biggest takeaway for me, a couple of big takeaways, a couple winners. Ryan Pace is a winner because he got to bench Mr. Trubisky. Now he just has to pay him $35 million a year. That's a win.
Ryan Pace drafted him. How is that a win?
Because you're not paying him $35 million. You're not.
Yeah, but you look like an idiot for not drafting him over Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes.
He learned the lesson, Breech, that Brinson did not. He does not double down on mistakes. Yes, he messed up initially.
It took him 4 years to learn it.
Quarterback battle by trading for Nick Foles instead of signing Cam Newton. He definitely doubled and tripled down on Trubisky. This is his worst nightmare.
It took him 4 years to learn. Steve Keim drafted a quarterback in the first round and said he's horrible and I'm going to get rid of him and draft a quarterback in the first round the next year. It took Ryan Pace 4 years to figure it out.
First of all,
I'm not giving him any bonus points.
I don't like sassy Breech all of a sudden because the Bengals aren't losing football games actively. Settle down, Johnny. Number one. Number two.
Tied a game, damn it.
Number two, we are inundated weekly by complaints from listeners that we don't talk up the winners. And you're sitting here crapping all over the Bears when I explicitly told you that Matt Snyder would like you not to crap on the Bears. And
over under 8.5 wins for the Bears this season.
I'm going over.
Brinson, you are crapping on the Bears. I was going to say, now that Foles is in, they're a lock probably to win the Super Bowl because that's what Nick Foles
Bears
does.
Fans
He
more
literally
than
just comes
any other fan base.
I bet Matt Nagy said, you know what? Nick Foles has been so much better in his QB competition. We're going to keep him on the bench, though, because he's no good when he starts the season. We're just going to let Mitchell go in there, cross our fingers, hope we do okay the first 2 games. And they did because they found their way to they beat the New York Giants by 4 points. That is what Mitchell Trubisky gets you. You have to come back from more than 16 points down to beat the Lions. That's what Mitchell Trubisky gets you. And, Bears fans should be gloating right now, and they should be laughing at Brinson. As for Falcons fans.
Hold on, before you Falcons, by the way.
Wait, I just want everyone to know I'm wearing my Super Bowl 51 pullover because that's where they blew the 28. As long as the Falcons keep blowing leads, I'm going to keep wearing it.
The Bears will not commit to Nick Foles being their starting quarterback next week.
Brinson, that's like you saying you're not going to commit to staying married through tomorrow. Like,
whoa.
Foles is going to be the starter. It's obvious. That's what I'm saying. They're not starting Mitchell Trubisky. You're going to bench a guy in the third quarter, watch him lead you to a 16-point comeback,
I mean,
and then not start him the following week.
I'm just saying they're not committing to him. Look.
Why would he say that? I mean, the last time Trubisky got benched, remember Nagy went over, put his hand on his shoulders. I think he had a shoulder injury.
Bears should be 1-2, man. They have 2.
But they're not.
You are what your record says you are. All right, Breech mentioned the Falcons. Let's talk about them real quick because the Falcons. My buddy Ben Jones, who's a big Falcons fan, he texted me. And he said, Dan Quinn, defensive guru. It's like, yeah, this is a tough watch, man. He's like, I'm at a soccer game. He's like, I left with a 16-point lead. Just checks the score. No clue what happened.
You don't want to know.
I said Foles. He's like, what are you talking about Foles? He's like, what do you mean Foles is involved? I don't know. I know I didn't think that anybody would fire a coach midseason because of we're in a pandemic still. And it's just the optics aren't great. I don't know how Dan Quinn survives.
I will say this. Number one, and I'm sure we all agree, I'm not advocating for anyone to lose their job because losing your job sucks. Prisco seems to think that he won't get fired this week, Dan Quinn.
So Arthur Blank, friend of the podcast, came on the Pick Six podcast at the Super Bowl this past year.
Does he know?
What's that?
Does he know he's a friend of the podcast?
He was on with the big logos. I don't know what to tell you. He was awesome. He was great.
So everyone who comes on the show is a friend of the podcast?
That's the whole thing.
FOP.
You appear on this show, you are a friend of the podcast.
You know who we need to have on the show, by the way? The guy from Ballers who's a huge Bears fan. That was the
Falcons mascot.
the best guest.
Let's have Freddie Falcons.
Did you guys know that I'm the best Cavalier dad ever? Shirt with a dog on.
All right, so what about our...
Did you buy that?
No, my wife got it for me. The Arthur Blank said that he wanted to be consistent. He wanted to be patient. He wanted to not jump to conclusion. He wants the Falcons to be a blue chip organization that doesn't fire coaches irrationally. And the problem is if you say that and then you fire him 3 weeks into the season, it's not really, doesn't really.
I don't think it's irrational to fire a coach after watching him blow 2 leads of 16 points or more and doing something that no other team has done in NFL history. That doesn't mean that would be somewhat rational.
Well, firing a coach after 3 weeks is not rational.
I don't think, but I don't think they'll do it. but I'm saying that it wouldn't be completely irrational to do at this point. But I do think that if they go 0-5, so they play the Packers on Monday, I think everyone's going to pick against the Falcons that game. Week 5, they play the Panthers. If they lose that game against a team with a new coach and a new quarterback and a new offensive coordinator and all these new defensive starters, then I think we could seriously see Arthur Blank thinking about making a move.
And by the way, he was supposed to.
The Falcons, by the way, I actually. What are they?
Well, while you're buying the way me, let me buy the way you. Last year, Dan Quinn was supposed to get canned. They sort of pulled it together late, and that's why he held him to his job. So to Breech's point, there's certainly precedent if you're thinking about moving on.
Their bye is week 10.
Oh boy, over under.
Oh boy, this schedule is. All right, so they have the bye is going to be they'll decide on the bye because here as Breech points out, they play the Packers. What's that?
Breech just told you it could be week 5.
No. Listen, but here's the schedule: Packers in week 4. Now they could fall to 0-4. That's entirely possible.
Huh,
but then they have the Panthers, Vikings, Lions, Panthers, and Broncos before the week 10 bye.
They have to win all those games.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like if you're 4-4, or I guess 5-4,
and we're talking
right.
But
if that's 5-4 is doable. That's a bad.
No, it's not. Have you seen this team? They're going to lose to the Packers, and they're going to reel off 5 straight.
Against the Panthers, right, Vikings. Yeah, you mentioned. I mean, they could win all those games.
Do you think that Dan Quinn gagging?
What's the probability?
Like this is a Dan Quinn thing, or is it just random historical occurrence?
Let me put it to you this way, and this
it's not random historical occurrence because it's the first time it's ever happened in NFL history.
Let me ask you this, because this is what I always come back to when we ask these sorts of questions. If Bill Belichick is coaching this exact team, are they doing these things?
They don't. No, they don't lose.
Okay, so that's the top of the box. At the bottom of the box right now is the way that they're playing with Dan Quinn coaching.
Dan Quinn's a good coach, I think.
He's a great guy too, but I mean,
Dan Quinn isn't. Like I thought this game was on the offense, and Dan Quinn's not calling the plays on offense.
Head coach Breech.
Well, I get that, but if you're
fired the offensive and defensive coordinators,
they went 3 possessions after they're up 26-10. Third quarter, they go 3 and out on 3 straight possessions in this game after they went up and down the field.
To ask, and we don't know. Like, did Dan Quinn say, "Let's run the ball and let's eat clock and let's get out of here"?
So wait, just to be clear, they move Raheem Morris to defense. What they do on offense?
Dirk Cutter's carry over from offense.
Okay, so I don't want to lie. All right, thank you for
correcting. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Raheem Morris took over the defensive calls midway through the season. Look, the defense is terrible. Everyone's defense is terrible. Anyway, all right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll tell you why the Bengals finished with the tie.
He missed. Oh, and he may have pulled a hamstring or a muscle, and there is complete elation.
Elation indeed.
Okay, so the Cincinnati Bengals are no longer completely full of losses. That's right. Oh, my God. Wilson, do you realize that this particular portion of the podcast? Debo, unmute your mic. Eagles 23, Bengals 23.
I mean, you can totally get the mood of what happened here because Debo, an Eagles fan, is just like, we need to blow things up. We need to draft Trevor Lawrence. I'm done with Carson Wentz. Me, a Bengals fan, we just won the Super Bowl. Joe Burrow got his first non-loss. I'm all over that. This is a good thing. Joe Burrow is on track. If he goes 0-2 and 14 ties, maybe this team gets in the playoff with 14 ties. That's fine with me. I'll take that all day. But sorry, Debo.
Oh, I feel terrible for Debo. I'm happy for Breech. But a tie, I think tie is worse than losing because it's the Bengals, and they've been such a hapless organization for the last year or so. And it just exacerbates the issues that are going on in Philadelphia that start with Carson Wentz, who had a lot of mistakes on Sunday. He would not throw the ball to open receivers. He would airmail open receivers when he threw it. He would run when he should have thrown the ball. He had the nice touchdown run at the end of the fourth quarter. And in my viewing, that was one of the few positives I got from Carson Wentz. Debo, did you see anything more than that you were able to hang your hat on in terms of feeling hopeful about Carson Wentz?
There wasn't a lot. I think everything you said was very accurate, except the part of a tie being worse than a loss. I will not agree with that. I think that itself is kind of a loser mentality, because when it comes down to it in Week 17 and the Eagles are 6-9-1 and the Cowboys are 6-10, that tie is going to matter. It's going to matter.
There you go.
Devo, let me ask you this. Should the Eagles have tried a 64-yard field goal at the end of overtime, or should they have punted?
So once again, I feel like I am in the vast minority of this fan base to go along with the Jalen Hurts pick and a couple other things. No, you know more kicking history than anyone I know. One time in NFL history, there's been a 64-yard field goal that was successful, that was at elevation. Doug Peterson saw Jake Elliott, who I love, who hit a 61-yarder against the Giants a couple years ago to spark their Super Bowl run. He was not hitting that kick. And I'm the most optimistic Eagles fan I know. He was not hitting that kick. If you want to tie the game and preserve just some semblance of your season, you punt the ball there. Joe Burrow can get one completion. They would have gotten the ball at midfield, one completion. They had no timeouts.
And then Randy Bullock.
It would have been about 13 seconds.
Yeah, you think Randy Bullock's going to hit a 60-yard field goal?
It up to Kevin Harlan.
Oh, he missed.
Yeah, be mad at the play calling before
That
play. Doug Peterson, we talk about his balls all the time. He didn't have them on that final drive. Call better plays and you won't put yourself in that position. And obviously the false start to push him back 5 yards. I'm fine with going for it for 59. Jake Elliott not hitting a 64-yarder. I don't know. Yeah.
I wish we had someone else producing so they could clip you saying, Doug Peterson, we talk about his balls all the time. I agree. So look, a tie is worse in the sense that you get to make fun of it more than a loss.
Right.
But a tie is definitely better than a loss.
Right.
Like a tie sucks because you feel like you tied, but kicking the 64-yard field goal and then losing and going to 0-3 versus 0-2-1 is a massive difference in a 16-game season where, like, I think Colleen Wolfe – what's that?
Where the division sucks.
Right.
Colleen Wolfe pointed out the Eagles are a half game out of first.
Yeah.
Like, the Cowboys are 1-2. The Washington football team is 1-2. The Giants, who are absolute dog crap, are 0-3. And the Eagles are 0-2-1. They haven't looked good. They're really banged up. I think that Jalen Hurts is going to see a lot more time playing just in order to, like, sort of, I don't know if you want to try and, like,
I don't know if that helps.
Rodgers it
Do
up.
you think that fumble he had is going to earn him some more playing time?
There's that. I don't know if that helped Carson Wentz's
This has
confidence.
been awful.
But, I mean, having him be a part-time player, I don't think it's going to help. I don't know what you do, to be honest with you, with Carson. I don't know how you fix it. I don't know what's gone wrong. I don't know if he's hurt.
He's
Maybe.
had 6 interceptions, most in the NFL.
Well, and also you had to think Doug Peterson went in this game thinking, you know what, I'm going to forget about the first 2 weeks of the season because if Carson can fix his issues against any team in the NFL, it is against the Cincinnati Bengals and their bad defense that's not going to have Geno Atkins, their best player. They're not going to have any pass rush. Carson's just be able to sit back there and pick them apart, and he couldn't even sit back there and pick them apart. I mean, it was absolutely I couldn't believe how bad Carson – I thought Joe Burrow absolutely outplayed him, and Joe Burrow had like a half a second to throw on each play, got sacked 8 times, and he still looked better than Carson Wentz.
It's just so weird to me because for whatever you wanted to put Carson Wentz in the rankings in the offseason, and we do it all summer long, say he's at the worst, a top 12 quarterback, he's number 12. I've never seen someone that could be considered that good, a potential MVP at one point in time, regress this so much. It's never happened in front of my eyes like this, and it's 3 games, and if I had to bet on something of him returning to form or him playing like this the rest of his career, I'd probably bet on him returning to form because that just doesn't happen. But still, I don't get it, and there's other factors, but the simple fact of the matter is he has to play better.
I will say one thing in his defense.
I was curious, is it possible that Wentz and Doug Peterson are a bad marriage?
No.
No. Why not?
2017, he played out of his mind.
A lot of people attribute that to Frank Reich and, think that the Eagles, if they kept Reich and Reich didn't depart for Indianapolis and it was Reich in the system instead of Doug, things would be a little bit different.
I don't know.
The one thing in Carson Wentz's defense is that he did know that NFL games could end in ties, unlike a former Eagles quarterback after the last time these two teams tied back in 2008. There have been 10 ties in the NFL since 2008, and the Bengals have been involved in 4 of them. Like, that pretty much sums up being a Bengals fan in one stat.
And you are ecstatic.
So,
I love ties.
By the way,
I've never
Carson
seen somebody so happy.
Carson Wentz played so poorly that when Easton Stick came in briefly to replace Justin Herbert in the Chargers game, I was going to make the argument that Easton Stick is now the best North Dakota State alumnus playing in the NFL at quarterback.
I'm not trying to be an apologist, but I also don't like the race to always replace a quarterback. I don't like how that always has to be the reaction. I know how it's natural because they used the 53rd overall pick on a quarterback, but good quarterbacks have bad stretches, and this is a horrible, horrible stretch. I'm not defending it in any sense, but I don't think there should be this race to replace him. And I don't think internally that's what the Eagles are thinking, despite what the fan base is calling for.
Yeah,
I'm going to say
think,
one thing real quick to put all this in perspective about how bad the Eagles and Bengals were in overtime. So during the Sunday night game, the Packers and the Saints combined for 4 punts in the entire game. In
1 turnover.
overtime, just overtime, the Bengals and Eagles combined for 6 punts.
They
They
punted
had more-
6 times in
They had
overtime?
more punts in overtime, I
Ugh.
think. Am I right?
It has to be a record.
Sounds right.
Is that right?
Yeah. So they punted more in overtime.
They
than
punted
the
6
Eagles.
times in overtime. That
They
is
punted more in
incredible.
overtime than the Eagles or
They had
than the
7 possessions in a 15-minute overtime?
a
And
10-minute
what the
overtime.
hell?
A 10-minute overtime.
A 10-minute overtime. That's insane.
Look at
They
that.
had- so that
Brinson
this
McMahon.
is crazy.
That's mind blowing.
Hey, it's a record. Way to go.
There were
Thank you.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 possessions in overtime of less than 20 yards.
That's
They're
not.
not. They're
good.
2 very bad
That's-
football teams. That's what we've
Mm.
surmised.
Okay.
Who wins more games?
Who wins the NFC?
I think the Cowboys do.
Which
Bengals
question?
is-
Which question are we answering? Who wins more games out of the Bengals and the Eagles?
I don't know what the rest of Wilson's question was.
That was it. Who wins more games between the 2 teams that just played? Bengals or Eagles?
The Eagles.
Breach?
Yeah, probably the Eagles.
Okay.
I mean, probably the Eagles. I don't want to say the Eagles because the Bengals have the better quarterback,
Look at this guy.
but I'll say the Eagles.
I will say that it
Hi.
is very troublesome that Philadelphia already is dealing with a bunch of injuries. Jason Peters got hurt in this game. Dallas Goedert got hurt in this game. Darius Slay got hurt in this game. I mean, like, if you lose those 3 guys, and we don't know what the
Parity.
prognosis of those injuries are, but like, you lose those 3 guys, you're toast. I mean, Greg Ward was their leading receiver, and he had 11 targets.
Greg Ward.
This is just the end of 2019 again.
Cannot get rid of Greg Ward. That's the lesson here. And by the way, the injuries suck. I get all that. There are a lot of teams with a ton of injuries, and it is what it is in the NFL.
Devo, I got one more question for you in this game. When the Eagles took a 16-10 lead, and I didn't want to watch this game. I'm not watching a bunch of Bengals games. Bengals are terrible. When the Eagles took a 16-10 lead, did you think that Doug Peterson got too cute? Like what happened there? Because I feel like with a 6-point lead, the Eagles have had leads. Like, you've got Miles Sanders. Lean on him and let him cut loose. Like, Miles Sanders could have gashed this Bengals defense all day.
Miles Sanders is an absolute bright spot of this season. Every time he touches the ball, something good happens. He gets extra yards. So, yeah, use the run more. And Carson missed passes. It's a matter of Doug maybe not getting cute enough at some times, but when you have that 16-10 lead against the Bengals, just finish it off.
Well, and real quick, that 16-10 lead didn't last long because the Bengals got the ball in the next possession, scored a touchdown, and then were immediately up 17-16. So it's not like the Eagles had a couple of offensive possessions while leading 16-10 because the Bengals – and then after they took that 17-16 lead, went to a pick on that next possession, and then the Bengals got a field goal off that interception, and then they were up 20-16. So the question should be, why didn't the Bengals hold the lead, Brinson?
You got well actually by Breach.
Get with the program.
Okay. Steelers 28, Texans 21. Ugh. Man, I finally thought the Steelers were coming back to earth. I was going to get to dance on Ryan's grave on this podcast, and instead they beat the Texans 28-21 and covered. The Steelers minus 3.5 for the game. The over hits as well. As we mentioned, all the 1 p.m. overs hit 46.5. Ben Roethlisberger, 21 fantasy points. James Conner, 20. Deshaun Watson, 20 as well. Are the Steelers the 3rd best team in the AFC?
Breach was talking about the defensive struggles of teams that we thought were going to be good defensively. The Steelers are one of those teams. Deshaun Watson's awesome. We know that. And he had very little trouble going up and down the field in the first half. The Steelers weren't able to get after him, even though that offensive line is suspect. And they scored 21 first-half points. They scored right before the half to make it 21-17. And then the Steelers' defense actually showed up in the second half. They got after Deshaun a little bit. They forced him into making one mistake. And Roethlisberger and that offense slowly but surely got going. So I don't know if the third best team. I'll let Breech. He might argue that it's the Bengals right now. But they're 3-0 for the first time since 2010, which is sort of a weird thing to think about a team that's really historically really good usually every season. So you have to stockpile wins when you're in the same division as the Ravens and the Bengals. And so this is huge. But you might get your wish next week, Brinson, when they have to travel to Tennessee to face the Mighty Titans.
And it's funny you just brought that up, Wilson, because I think that the argument for the third best team comes down to the Steelers and the Titans, and you give it to obviously whoever wins that game in week 4. But I think right now I give the nod to the Titans. And you know why? Because on Monday night, the Ravens and the Chiefs are playing. And you know who both those teams, who their last loss was against? The Titans. Both of them. The Chiefs' last loss was against the Titans. The Ravens' last loss was against the Titans. So I think it's hard, and the Titans are undefeated, so I think it's hard to move them out of the conversation and say they're not in the top 3 teams in the AFC when they've beaten both teams that we say are above them, within the past 12 months. So
Okay.
Titans are 3 for me. And I'm not just saying that because I live in Nashville and because there's a Titans helmet behind me, which you can see if you're watching on YouTube. I shine that thing every time they win. I don't even pay attention to my Bengals helmet anymore.
What do we think about the Texans? I mean, like, the Texans are hard, man. Because
They suck.
I don't think they suck.
The Chiefs, Ravens, and Steelers.
They're 0-3.
Wilson, who's not 0-3 playing this schedule? Opening with the Chiefs, Ravens, and Steelers.
The Chiefs and Ravens.
Well, they can't play themselves.
That's my point. It's like
The Steelers. You forgot the Steelers.
the Steelers were going through.
No, they don't suck. But they have put themselves in position to not have as much success as they should be. And by they, I mean Bill O'Brien. Andrew Hopkins had another huge day target-wise in Arizona. They could certainly use him. Will Fuller was back today on the field for the Texans. That's great. Randall Cobb had at least one touchdown catch, and he had 95 yards on 4 catches. So he's your leading receiver. I don't know if you want him to be weekly your leading receiver. David Johnson, who they traded for as part of that DeAndre Hopkins trade, 23 yards on the ground, 13 carries, big whoop. The offensive line is getting better, but Deshaun Watson can't do it all. And, we say this each and every week. So this isn't the worst 0-3 team in the league, and we say it. We've been saying it every week this season that they've recently come back from 0-3 in 2018. They went 11-5, so they can certainly do it. But you're just asking a lot of one player, your franchise quarterback, to do everything while taking a ton of hits. And I just don't know if that's the recipe for sustained success.
Andrew Luck says it's not.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, the Texans were up. I mean, the Texans were cruising in this game. It felt
Yeah, they were up 14-3, I believe. The first half,
14-3 and 21-17.
it was a tale of two halves. The first half they dominated. The second half, the defense caught up with Deshaun Watson.
All right, so the Texans' next 6 games are home against the Vikings,
Win.
home against the Jaguars,
Win.
at Titans,
Tie.
home against the Packers, at
Loss.
Jaguars, at Browns. What is the Texans' record in those 6 games?
3-3 would be great.
You know what's crazy is that if they go 4-2, which I think would be big because you're playing the Titans and the Packers in there, you're still 4-5 on this. You still have a losing record, and that's a best case scenario going 4-2 in these next 6 games. So, like, if you don't go 4-2, if you go 2-4, 3-3, your season's practically over.
So the Texans, so Deshaun Watson had 202 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions in the first half. According to NFL research, he joined Tom Brady from the 2016 AFC Championship as the only players with 200 pass yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 0 interceptions versus Pittsburgh in the first half of the last 5 seasons, including the playoffs. Over under Deshaun Watson passing attempts in the second half, 15.5.
Must be under, huh?
9.
Jeez.
What are
They
you
got
doing,
halftime.
Billy O'Brinson?
He didn't have a lot of time, and Steelers.
I feel like Bill O'Brien is being so super conservative that it's just
Not in the
going
first
wrong.
half. Deshaun was lighting them up.
I'm saying, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, they get a lead, and he's like, all right, we got to buckle down and run the ball and get this win.
Well, it was 21-17 and a half, and then the Steelers came out, and I believe they scored in the first.
No, they didn't run the ball, though. They only ran the ball 15 times in this game. So I don't know what their plan was at any point, except that, you get up 14-3. Maybe you run a few more run plays than you had planned to keep the other team off the field so they can't score, to run some clock, to do something. And they didn't do that. The Texans finished with 29 rushing yards. That is the fourth lowest rushing total in Texans franchise history.
This is crazy. What is happening here?
Well, Steelers are 3-0. That's what's happening.
And you're not going to win if your defense is on the field for 76 plays. The Steelers ran 76 plays.
They ran 42 plays.
The Texans?
That is crazy. They were leading 21-17 and ran 42 plays.
I don't know.
How?
Go watch the second half. Steelers.
Wilson, you need to explain. You're the only one that watched all 4 quarters of this game.
I was actually watching
what a weird game.
It was a weird game.
All right, I think the Texans will rip off. I think they go 4-2 in the next stretch.
No way. They go 3-3.
Right, let's move on. This game.
Out.
This game's confusing as hell. All right. Patriots 36, Raiders 20. That doesn't do it justice. It wasn't even that close. The Pats -7, my best bet of the week. Clinches over 47 hits. Shouldn't have hit. There was Derek Carr was sacked in the end zone, ruled a safety, and then they decided the ball was out and gave the Patriots a touchdown. And then the Patriots kicked off. The Raiders went down and scored. Top fantasy performers, Rex Burkhead, 26 points. Derek Carr, 19 points. Hunter Renfrow, 14 points. The Patriots were not great, but it felt like a boxing match where there's a guy who's clearly the superior fighter and is sort of feeling things out and then realizes how the fight's going to go and then just starts punching down. And the Patriots were up, 6 or 9 points or something like that late. And then they buried him. They buried him in the second half, in the fourth.
Funny you say that because
they were just a better.
It was 13-10 in the third quarter.
Yep.
And the Raiders honked a field goal. And that's when the game turned. It was a wrap after that. I didn't think that Cam played well. He had some suspect throws. We talked about that Dak Prescott end-of-game interception. Cam had a similar interception where he broke out of the tackle and just threw the ball. He could have handed it off, and it would have been less offensive than that throw he made that was picked off by Jonathan Abram, I believe. Yeah.
Brinson, I was surprised you liked this game because this was my lock of the week, which, by the way, my locks of the week are 4-0 against the spread, 4-0 straight up. But it did feel like one of those games that the Raiders were coming off a Monday night. So they had a short week. They had to fly across the country. They had to play in a game that starts at 10 a.m. Pacific time.
They were being investigated for violating COVID protocols.
They're being investigated. Their coach has to pay a $100,000 fine. And you're going against angry Bill Belichick, who's coming off a loss and is not going to lose 2 games in a row. So it was like there was just no way the Raiders were winning this game. And Ryan's absolutely right. After that missed field goal, and that's the Daniel Carlson that hit a 54-yard field goal to ice the Saints game when we all thought Gruden was crazy, and he missed a 41-yard field goal when it was 13-10. If he hits it, it's 13-13. And the Raiders have played them pretty tight in the first half. I mean, the Raiders had a great drive at the end of the first half where they scored with 6 seconds left. And after they scored that touchdown, I really thought, I was like, man, they might stay in this game, put up a fight. And then they punched themselves in the face. And the Patriots ran away with it.
The Pats averaged 6.6 yards per rush, most in a game since 2010. They have rushed for 7 touchdowns already this season, the most in the first 3 weeks in Patriots history. This is Belichick porn.
Been a lot of history this year, and on that last week, Julian Edelman set career highs in yardage. You don't need Tommy.
Burkhead was awesome too, by the way. Yeah, look, the Patriots are a better team. The Patriots are a bad matchup for the Raiders.
But as Breech pointed out, for the first 40 minutes, it was close.
It was close. That's fine. I don't think the Patriots have pull away, beat your brains in potential out of the gate. Like they're not going to come out and drop a 40 burger on you in the first half, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
I think they ground them down. And they do what Belichick wants to do. You make mistakes. What's that?
Only the 6th time in Belichick's 20 years with the team that they've hit 250 yards rushing.
That's crazy.
And 2 of them were against the Raiders.
Look, I don't know if I'm right a lot, or probably not. I'm not. But I was right about this Patriots team and how they want to play games. And this is what they're doing. Okay, moving along to Belichick's. I know his name is Bill, but Breech calls him Belichick.
It's because my baby's name is Annabelle, and I say Bell all the time.
Before you had a baby.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
I said Bill Belichick all the time.
Nice. That's the first
when
time
you
I've
start
ever
saying
heard
one
you
word
say
all the time.
Right. Anyway, moving on to Bill Belichick's old quarterback, Tommy Brady, who took the Buccaneers into Denver and won 28-10. The Bucs cover the -6. The under somehow hit in this game. It's unbelievable. 42.5 it hit. That was one of my best bets on the podcast from last week. By the way, Pete Briscoe, 13-2 on his best bets for the podcast picks this year. Scorching hot.
2020, the year of Prisco.
That's welcome to hell. Of course, that demon would be great this year. I'm actually doing really well too. RJ having a tough year, but we'll get turned around. Tom Brady, top fantasy performer, along with then Jeff Driscoll. He had 29 points. And Jeff Driscoll, Mike Evans, and Chris Godwin, 12 each. Tom Brady's 59th career game with 3 passing touchdowns and no interceptions. The next closest, Drew Brees with 53. Chris Godwin had his first touchdown catch of the season. This is the reality here is the Buccaneers.
Godwin left with looked like a hammy, so that's something to keep.
That's not good. The Buccaneers snuffed out the Broncos here.
Worth
Broncos
noting,
are too banged up to play against a team like the Bucs.
Well, it gets worse because last week Drew Lock got hurt in Pittsburgh, and they brought in Jeff Driscoll, who looked okay. And Breech is familiar with Jeff Driscoll from his days at Cincy. Driscoll got benched for Brett Rippon. That's how bad Jeff Driscoll was. And they brought in Brett Rippon. He went 8 for 9, but threw an interception.
Didn't they sign Blake Bortles?
He was inactive on
right,
Sunday.
But that means it's Bortles versus Darnold on Thursday night, probably.
So I don't know where this team goes. You talk about the Eagles being beset by injuries. The Broncos would like a word because they are in purgatory.
Broncos have been gashed by injuries. It's awful.
And I was the one. Who was it? Me and Prisco Breech that picked the Broncos to go to the playoffs.
That sounds right.
Yowzers.
Not me.
That sounds right.
But
kind of crazy.
Yeah, so like we said at the top, 2 weeks ago, I was more concerned about the Buccaneers than the Saints. I feel A-okay about the Buccaneers, and we're at the point where Tom Brady and Mike Evans still aren't yet on the same page. My favorite stat line of the week, not even close. Don't look, Breech or Brinson. Do you know Mike Evans' stat line?
I watched a decent amount of this game, so I know that it's like 5 catches, 12 yards, 2 touchdowns.
4 targets, 2 receptions, 2 yards, 2 touchdowns.
That's even better. That's great.
Fantastic.
He had less receiving yards than Lenny Fournette.
Yeah.
By the way, Leonard Fournette, 7 carries, 15 yards. Hope you all started him. Hope you listen to this podcast. We told you not to. Ronald Jones, 13 carries, 53 yards. Spicy.
I started him.
Do you think the Bucs are the best team in the NFC South?
Oh, my God. Yes.
Okay.
But they lost to the Saints, Ryan. How do you rectify that?
Let me ask you, John, who's the best team in the NFC South?
The Buccaneers.
I'll still take the Saints.
Okay, and you will lose. You have a quarterback that can't throw the ball downfield, and you have another one that fumbles.
And you have another one who throws interceptions, but only when he plays.
Do you know who is effing awesome?
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady's fine. Antoine Winfield Jr. is effing awesome. He is awesome.
Great pick.
He had a sack. I loved him in Minnesota, and I love him even more now.
All right.
What?
No, I
praise Antoine Winfield. We're not talking about defense on here. He had a sack.
I heard you.
6 tackles. Quarterback hit. Tackle for loss. Pass deflection. He's a stud.
Did Debo feed you that? It's weird that you're suddenly flexing on Antoine Winfield.
Do you feel bad about being to Gronk?
No.
Can I say that on here? I probably can't. Sorry.
No, you know why? Because Pick Six, the Instagram feed, which you do not run, by the way, did a whole thing on it on our little chat last week. Gronk, 6 receptions, 7 targets, 48 yards. And
almost a touchdown.
And he said last week after we sort of gave him the business that he goes, I'm a blocker.
He was joking.
I just saw the quote. I didn't see any emojis.
Yeah, you didn't watch you didn't watch the Zoom? He said he was joking. He was clearly being sarcastic. He was like, I was brought here to block.
He ain't joking, though. I mean, the stats say otherwise.
Why would they need to use him in this game? It'd be a waste of.
I tell you who is playing well is O.J. Howard.
All right, I'll give you that.
He's playing better.
Who's the leading receiver for the Buccaneers today? Do you know?
Yeah, I'm looking at it, so I won't tell you.
Breech, do you know?
I do not know. I know that Chris Godwin. Scotty Miller. Scotty doesn't know that he was the leading receiver. That's my Scotty doesn't know song. You guys, I've obviously never seen Euro Trip.
That's our cue to move on.
Titans 31, Vikings 30. The Titans are 3-0 straight up and 0-3 against the spread. And their defense is
Don't bet on the Titans.
I mean, the Vikings covered the 2.5 points. The over 49 hit Kirk Cousins, 25 fantasy points. Dalvin Cook had a great game, 23 points. But the guy who went bananas, B-A-N-A-N-N. I can't spell bananas.
It's bananas.
Cut that, Devo.
Yeah, it's got to be cut. Brinson can't spell bananas.
I can't spell bananas.
What if you could only eat things that you could spell? Brinson would only be eating C-R-A-P.
B-E-E-R.
I had C-R-A-B-C-A-K-E-S for dinner
You
tonight.
can spell that, but you can't spell bananas. There's a song telling you how to spell bananas.
B-A-N-A-N-N-A-N-A.
All right, go ahead and give a shout out.
Justin Jefferson. Great day for rookie wide receivers. T. Higgins for the Bengals, 2 touchdown catches against the Eagles. We saw Brandon Ayuk run in a touchdown for the 49ers. And Justin Jefferson led the way. 7 catches, 175 yards, and a touchdown. What a game. Kirk Cousins.
He actually danced before he got to the end zone, like we were giving DK Metcalf a hard time about. The difference was no one was around him. So you have to be careful when you do it. Just get in the end zone, do the dance. But, yeah, huge day.
Isn't it interesting that it took 3 weeks for rookie wide receivers to really make an impact? Like, it's almost like this
It's weird, though, because
It's almost like they didn't have a whole offseason to practice together.
or a preseason, right?
But typically wide receivers, more so in recent years, they've come on quicker than usual. But typically it takes a little while for them to get going. But, yeah, fair enough. A.J. Brown sort of flashed big last year. Deontay
He's
Johnson.
the first rookie wide receiver for the Vikings to have 100 yards or more and a half since
Randy Moss.
in 1990.
98.
8.
Call breach.
I said 98 before he did.
They went
Great call.
15-1. They went to the Super Bowl.
Denny
They
Green.
didn't go to the Super Bowl.
You know who the
Trick
offensive
you.
coordinator
It
was?
was Morton Anderson.
Morton Anderson was not the offensive coordinator of that 98 team. He was the kicker.
If anybody asks me who's the offensive coordinator for the Vikings, I just automatically say Brad Childress.
Yeah, but the funny thing is when this guy was offensive coordinator in 1998 to the 15-1 team, he was considered an offensive genius. And then he got a head coaching job, and the team was not offensive.
And timeout real quick.
Who was it?
Because Brinson is just throwing friend of the podcast, Morton Anderson, under the bus. The kicker who missed the field goal for the Vikings in 1998 was Gary Anderson, not Morton
Also,
Anderson.
Morton
Wow.
Anderson has not been on this podcast. Not a friend. We are friends with him because we hung out with him after he got inducted to the Hall of Fame ceremony, but he is not a friend of the podcast.
He's a friend of me, and I'm on
Who
the
was the
podcast.
Vikings OC in 98? Denny Green?
No, he's head coach. Brian Billick.
Oh, very nice. Denny Green was a defensive coordinator, I think. I don't know. Maybe.
It's crazy that it took Justin Jefferson specifically this long to come along because the Vikings have nothing on offense. Like it's like Adam Thielen can't get open now that Stephon Diggs was gone. I don't know what the deal is. And then Kirk Cousins doesn't have a lot of time to throw because offensive line hasn't been that good. They needed someone to kind of spark the offense, and Justin Jefferson totally did that. It's just too bad that the Vikings didn't win because you know who KO'd them with his right foot? My man, Steven Gostkowski.
That
By the
guy.
way, Denny Green was an offensive guy, so I would write R.I.P. Denny.
Gostkowski.
Do you want to pump up?
Hot and cold.
Do you want to pump up Gostkowski? Good credit to Vrabel, Mike Vrabel, for sticking with him, because now it's like Gostkowski's drilling everything.
Yeah, but Breech tells us every week, there's not a lot on the scrap heap in terms of replacing Gostkowski. So where are you going to go?
But I do – when you have a guy coming off an injury like Gostkowski, he goes 1 for 4 in your week 1, and you almost lose because of him, you definitely – I'm sure they slept on that, and they said, you know what, we'll wake up tomorrow, we'll think about it. And then, kicking is 70% mental. If you're in the NFL, you have an NFL leg, but the head thing, you can't control the head thing. Like if you get the yips, then all of a sudden you can't make kicks. And it felt like that's kind of what happened to Gostkowski. But I think once he hit that game winner against Denver, hitting a game winner, nothing gets your confidence back on track faster than something like that. And then,
what is missing a 31-yarder to potentially tie the game do for you?
Is it because you got foot cramps or because you missed it because your head?
Your hamstring or your muscle pull.
He missed. He missed. Oh, and he may have pulled a hamstring or a muscle.
And
there is complete elation.
And the crazy thing,
Gostkowski, according to Elias Sports, he's the second kicker in the last 20 years with a go-ahead field goal in the final 2 minutes of 3 straight games. Can either of you name the other one?
Oh, Breech, you don't know that off the top of your head?
What was the final 2 minutes of 3 straight games?
Yeah.
And you said Wilson should know it?
It happened in the last 10 years.
Boswell?
Oh, no, Sean Sweezum.
It was Boswell. Damn,
Oh, it was?
Really?
Sean Sweezum was good, too.
Boswell in 07.
Get out of here.
Well, it wasn't
It wasn't
07.
Boswell in 07.
2017, sorry.
Oh, God.
I may be in this bottle of bourbon here. Okay. Are the Titans good? I don't know.
Well,
Their defense is trash.
I want to ask Breech.
Everyone's defense trash.
Breech, let me ask you. You've complained about the defense is not living up to standards. Have the Titans blown you away in terms of their consistency? Because as you noted, they almost lost week 1. They should have lost this game week 3, but the Vikings.
They could have lost to Minshew last week.
So,
to answer your question, I do think they're one of the top 3 teams in the AFC. And that's because, look, you look at what they did that week one game.
Oh, either one of the top 3 teams in the AFC South or one of the top 3 teams in the AFC?
He said that earlier.
The AFC, the entire conference.
American Football Conference, you mean?
You think? Well,
The
we'll
American Football Conference,
the
where they
week.
beat the Ravens in the playoffs last year and advanced to the AFC Championship game, making them one of the top 2 teams.
What does last year have to do with anything?
Nothing.
This team, they brought back all their talent, and they're just as good, if not better, than they were last year. They have a better kicker than last year. It was the only thing they were missing.
They lost their defensive coordinator.
Mike Vrabel is their defensive coordinator. Like, if anything, they upgraded. Dean Pease was good.
Pease? Get the F out of here.
Mike Vrabel is a defensive coach who is a former defensive coordinator. He knew exactly what system they were running. They didn't miss a beat defensively.
Stinks. What? Do you think the Titans' defense is good?
Their defense doesn't stink. I'm not going to say they stink. I think that.
What about the Titans' defense makes you think this is a good defense?
Well, I think that they were up 24-10 on Jacksonville and just kind of
they gave up
choked it
30
away.
to Jacksonville, 14 to Denver in week 1, I guess.
Yeah, but you got to look at about how the game was played.
They gave up 175 yards to Justin Jefferson.
Brinson, what defense? How many defenses in the AFC would you take over the Titans? How many teams would you take over the Titans?
Well, the Steelers, Ravens, and Chiefs very quickly.
What about the Patriots?
The Bills.
No, not the
The
Patriots.
The Titans are at best. The Colts. The Titans are at best the 7th best
The
team
Titans
in the AFC.
beat all these teams last time they played.
What's that?
Keep going back
They beat the Patriots last. Like, why are
The
the
last
Patriots
time they
better than the
played in
Titans?
2019?
So why are the Patriots better than the Titans? It makes no sense. It's foolish talk.
Because Bill Belichick,
They're cut
Cam
off.
Newton, and a bunch of different stuff. What do you
A
mean
new
the last time
quarterback
they
running a
played?
new system. Have you watched the Titans offense play a single game this year? They just
Yes,
go
I've
up and down the
watched them
field
play
on
3
every
games.
single person. They've
What?
been unstoppable.
What are you talking
No one has been able to stop the Titans offense.
They scored 16 points against the
because
Broncos.
their kicker missed 4 field goals.
Well, then maybe they should. So they're kicking a bunch of field goals? What? Am I being punked? What is happening here? Why are you propping up the Titans as this unstoppable offense?
They are
They
unstoppable.
scored 33 points against the Jaguars. Ryan Fitzpatrick scored more.
Jaguars.
Actually, Ryan Fitzpatrick scored less, but still.
Thank you.
The Vikings, they played the Broncos, the Jaguars, and the Vikings. That might be 3 of the 10 worst teams in football.
You're making fun of them only scoring 33 points against the Jags. One of the teams you mentioned is better. The Colts only scored 20, and they lost to Jacksonville. Boom.
Listen, we don't operate in transitive property world. What are you doing?
Well, here,
You mentioned a team with a loss.
I'm hammering the Steelers next week. Steelers are going to blast the Titans.
Oh, it's not going to be close. The Titans are going to win by a touchdown.
That's close. That's the definition of a 1-score game.
That's not close.
All right. We'll have to wait. We'll see you next week, Kevin Harlan. All right, what's next?
All right.
Next, me and Brinson debate for 30 minutes on where the Titans fall.
I don't think the Titans are a top 5 AFC team.
They're top 2.
We'll get an indication
Top 2.
when they lose to Steelers. What's next?
Browns 34, Washington football team 20.
Sorry I asked.
What's that?
I said, sorry I asked. I said, what's next? You said Browns, Washington. I said,
Browns covered the -7. The over 45 hit. Nick Chubb went bananas.
boy.
B-A-N-A-N-A, yes.
Nick Chubb might be the best running back in football. Baker Mayfield had a nice game, and Dontrell Inman showed up on the fantasy leaderboard. The Washington football team briefly led this game, and then the Browns stole it right back. The Browns are over 500 for the first time in 2,114 days. The last time they were over 500 was December 14th, 2014.
Johnny, man.
Woo!
You want another Browns fun fact?
I don't.
Or do you want trivia? Which one?
Trivia.
When is the last time the Browns scored 30 or more points in consecutive weeks?
Is it since they've returned to Cleveland?
I would say never.
1995, when Bill Belichick coached the team.
It was actually way more recent. 2010. But that's still – they've gone 10 years without scoring 30 or more points in consecutive weeks. That is how insane.
Is that Derek Anderson? Is that Derek Anderson, Braylon Edwards going banana? Why do I keep saying banana? Stop it.
You need a different fruit to talk about,
Yeah,
Brinson.
say something you can
What,
spit out.
apples?
So here's what I'll say. Dwayne Haskins may not be very good. 3 interceptions, a lot of them of the back-breaking variety. Did have 2 touchdowns. Again, he made some good throws, and then he made some. You're like, what are we looking at, and how are we going to fix this in a short amount of time? And it's one of these situations where if he continues to play like this, and it could be unfair, I give you that, but if they have the top overall pick, they're taking Trevor Lawrence. Now,
they're not going to have the top overall pick.
thank you, Jets. But, if they get sniffing around that conversation or they fall in love with someone like Justin Fields, the Ohio State quarterback.
You say Justin Fields after drafting Dwayne.
Oh, I know, right? So, I don't know. I wish he would play better. I like him coming out. He has struggled. That team is not very good. Chase Young left with a groin injury. That's concerning. He was on the field in Civi's second half, I think.
He was ruled out quick, too.
So I thought they would be able to get after Baker. Clearly, that didn't happen. And when you have the running game, as you point out, with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and Kareem Hunt actually caught a touchdown pass, I believe. Yeah, he did. That makes things much more complicated for an offense that can't score points in Washington.
I think the Browns might be good.
They're, on paper, awesome. They just can't stay out of the own way mentally. And Breech was talking about kickers having confidence. That's the thing that this team lacks.
So the Browns got blasted in week 1.
Blasted.
But have taken care of – look, they played the Washington football team and the Bengals, two of the 5 worst teams in football the last 2 weeks. But they've taken care of business. Like the Ravens are just great. And I think the Browns might just be good.
Confident.
They took care of business, but Dwayne Haskins literally just handed them the game. I mean, that was what it came down to. Their offense didn't move up and down the field until Chase Young got hurt. It was literally his injury happened, and all of a sudden they're scoring touchdowns. His injury happened, all of a sudden Dwayne Haskins throwing interceptions, and the Browns are moving the ball better. It was just I didn't see them
17-7 in the second quarter.
Because Dwayne Haskins threw an interception and lost a fumble. Threw 2 interceptions that led to 2 touchdowns. Both their touchdowns came off of Dwayne Haskins interceptions. That's why they're up 17-7. They didn't do anything in this game. They didn't do anything in this game that impressed me.
Okay. I can buy that. Again, I think that's out of confidence.
Won by 14 points against a crappy team. Let's move on.
Yeah. All right.
The Lions! Woo! The Lions 26, Cardinals 23. The Lions finally won a game. Lions cover the +5. The under actually hit 55.
Did the Lions go bananas?
Bananas.
Kyler Murray had 24 fantasy points. Matthew Stafford 22. And Andy Isabella, Ryan's boy, caught 2 touchdown passes, 16 fantasy points. Kenny Golladay was back. And so were the Detroit Football Lions. Huge win for my guys in Detroit. Matt Patricia. This team's not that good. What I pick in the division? Golladay, 6 catches, 57 yards, and a touchdown. They had a Matt Prater 2 fourth-quarter field goals to tie it up and then to take the lead as time expired. They won the game. pretty big win for the Lions.
That bought Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn at least 3 more months. I mean, that's how important that win was.
It was a huge win.
And as equally demoralizing for the Cardinals. Going into that game, a year ago, these two teams played and they tied, and we sort of joked about it. I think it was week 1. Going into this game on Sunday, I was of the opinion that the Lions would love to have a tie. They won. And I think part of the issue is for the Cardinals, they asked Kyler Murray to do too much. They got away from running the ball. He was throwing a lot. He threw 3 interceptions, some pretty bad ones. But Matthew Stafford, Brinson, he's your guy. He played well. Kenny Galladay was back. That's a big deal. Jeffrey Okudah had a huge interception. He didn't play in week 1. He struggled last week in week 2. Their first round pick had a big game. So a lot of things coming together. They minimized mistakes, and they won. I do want to see how the Cardinals bounce back because you can't lose at home to the Lions if you're going to be.
So let me ask you this. I want to ask you something about the Lions. How do you feel? I mean, I know you're mocking yourself for picking them to win the division, but you look at week 1, they were winning that game 23-6. You look at week 2, they got smoked by the Packers, but they were winning 14-3. So it's like the talent is there. They just haven't
without Kenny Galladay the first 2 weeks.
Without Kenny Galladay, and all of a sudden they beat a very good Cardinals team.
Lions could easily be 3-0.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying. Do you feel better about your do you think they win more or less than 8 games?
I think they win more. I thought they were going to win this game outright. I felt confident about it going in.
12 months ago,
I thought I didn't pick it on CBS for some reason.
12 months ago, we had this exact same conversation, and Breech kept having it. This Lions team could be 3-0. They won. They won 3 games, right?
Stafford got injured eventually. That's different.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big win for them to 1-2, but let's not get crazy. They're not winning 8 games.
Brinson just said they're going over the 8 games.
Easily win 8 games.
Easily. Okay.
Well, so the Cardinals have the Panthers and Jets. What's their record?
Oh, my God. I mean, the Panthers actually surprised a lot of people on Sunday. We'll talk about that in a second. But
the Lions have an interesting schedule, by the way.
Go ahead.
The Lions do have an interesting schedule.
Saints at home next week. Oh, my God. What's that over-under? Then at Jaguars. Then at Falcons. Colts at home. At Vikings and Washington football team at home.
What do you think they're going to do in that span? then I will handwrite Matt Patricia an apology.
I think they will go 4-2 in this.
Debo, cut that. I want to see Wilson handwrite an apology to an NFL football coach.
That would actually be incredible if Wilson had we have to do that if it happens. If they go 6-0, you have to write on a cocktail napkin. Dear Matt, I'm sorry for questioning you over the 6-game stretch. Love, Ryan Wilson.
Yeah, I'll send it right to him.
By the way, after that, they have the Panthers, Texans, Bears. Are you sure they're not going to win 9 games by Thanksgiving?
I hope they do.
All right. I don't put the Cardinals' game plan was bad. They should have run. Kenyon Drake needed to have a big game.
I will say this team only won 5 games last year, and if they win 7 or 8 this year, I think that's a going in
Arizona.
I think it's a step in the right direction.
Well, the Lions only won 3 games last year. What if they win 7 or 8? Is that a step in the right direction?
Yes, but they're not going to do that.
Well, so you're supposed to say no because you know who won 9 games?
Oh, you set me up and it's late. My bad.
That's okay.
I think that I don't know. I think that Arizona. Detroit's a better team than they played than their record, and they are.
No, I agree. I mean, they were
Kenny Galladay back, and now they're 1-2. They could be 3-0. It wouldn't be that crazy.
Okay, what's your other?
It is. I did feel like Kyler Murray tried to do too much in this game.
3 picks,
and and that's he can't do that yet. He's a 2nd-year guy. You're not Aaron Rodgers yet, and you'll get better. And he's athletic, and he does things that amaze us every week. But you can't go out and try to win the game on every single play. And that's kind of felt like what he was doing in this game.
Fun fact.
Yes.
4 p.m. window. The 2 teams with the longest losing streaks in the NFL currently, the Lions 11 games and the Panthers 10 games, both snapped those losing streaks. I mentioned the Panthers. They beat the Chargers 21-16. Panthers +6 covers the under 43.5 comes in. Austin Eckler, your top fantasy performer. Keenan Allen, 17 points, and Teddy Bridgewater and Justin Herbert, 16 apiece. I was in near, and ironically, I told Pete Prisco that if Pete's big on Justin Herbert, I'm not. Pete, I said, if Justin Herbert leads a comeback, I'm going to put $1 billion in the Packers money line on Sunday night because it's just a Pete Prisco year. And I wish Herbert had done it because then I would have made a bunch of money. Herbert had a drive late in the game with a chance to win, didn't pull it off. The Panthers came away with the win. Matt Rule's first win as an NFL head coach, and the Chargers fall to 1-2. This game was not impressive, not exciting. Neither team is good.
Well. I'm just gonna. It was not exciting for 59 minutes and 50 seconds. And we say Justin Herbert didn't lead them on a drive to win the game. That's technically true, but he absolutely put them in a spot to win it. The final play of the game, the Chargers ran a hook and lateral, and it absolutely would have worked, except that Austin Eckler fumbled the lateral. He would have walked into the end zone. This was literally the final play of the game. Carolina was up 21-16. Herbert drove them down the field. So you had, I think, 5 seconds left. The Chargers were at Carolina's 28-yard line.
Everyone thought they were throwing in the end zone.
Everyone. So then Herbert throws a deep crosser for like 15 yards to Keenan Allen. So now they're 13 yards from the end zone when he catches it. The Panthers just totally crash on Keenan Allen.
It's the little Giants play.
Yeah, exactly. Eckler comes perfectly across the field. This is perfectly designed. Keenan, it wasn't like 100% perfect pitch, but these guys are in the NFL. He should have caught it, and he bobbled it twice.
No, it was – so, like, they showed credit to our CBS, like, video team or NFL and CBS video team. They did an aerial view of it, and it's like, Breech, you're right. He is sauntering into the end zone if he catches it.
Yeah, so, I mean, they could have won this on this final play if Eckler catches it. So credit to Herbert for putting them in a position because he drove down, I think, with no timeouts, got him in that spot. But
so
yeah,
Breech,
they lost.
Can we talk about the fact that you tweeted out the video? You're like, the Chargers almost pulled off a perfect hook and ladder to beat the Panthers in the final play of the game, but Austin Eckler couldn't handle the pitch. #Chargers, #Panthers, #Wowzers.
That was my reaction. Wowzers. Wowzers.
I will say this, Justin Herbert, I think he was 9 of 11 in the first half, so that's great, but he didn't throw very many yards, and he had an interception towards the end of the first half.
He is exactly what he was at Oregon.
But he's impressed me.
At a different level, so that's impressive.
He's actually impressed me. He's exceeded my expectations. He came on in the second half. He actually got hurt. He got slammed and hurt his wrist during a sack. Went out for a few snaps. I mentioned Easton Stick earlier came in. He came back and then played well down the stretch, and as Breech pointed out, was integral in that what should have been a game-winning drive. And, oh, by the way, the Chargers in their last 8 games against the spread at home as a home favorite. You want to take a gander what their record is?
Oh, God.
1-7.
0-8.
0-7-1. So,
jeez, that's ugly.
That is not.
Keenan Allen, by the way, 19 targets, 13 catches, 132 yards, and a touchdown. Justin Herbert threw 49 times in this game.
I'm telling you, man, he is playing a lot better than I thought. Also,
the throw, when he makes a great throw, it's a great throw.
He is.
But when he makes a bad throw, it's a very bad throw.
When you see him flash, that's what Trevor Lawrence does every play, and that's what I think the upside is for what people are expecting from Justin Herbert. It's just going to take a while for him to get there. But he's exceeded my expectations. I said, go ahead, Breech.
I was just going to say, and if people look at the final score and think this was a close game, the Panthers kind of kicked themselves in the face here. They got into the red zone 6 times.
Joey Sly
and they had to handle. Joey Sly didn't kick a field goal. I think he kicked 5 field goals. I think they were all under 35 yards. So that's insane. That does not happen very often.
29, 24, 30, 22, and 31.
I mean, there you go. If you have
Panthers should have blown him out.
Yeah, I mean, so they were just going – the Panthers went up and down the field. They just couldn't get the ball in the end zone. So, I don't know if the Chargers were just too emotionally drained after losing that game to the Chiefs or if the Panthers are actually okay. Are the Panthers okay? Could they be decent?
Maybe. The Chargers now have – how many points they score against the Bengals in that game that ended
13.
like this?
Or 16.
So they have 29 points against the Panthers and Bengals.
Yeah, it's not
That's
ideal.
A big old red flag.
And oh, by the way, not that this necessarily matters for Justin Herbert. Well, actually, it sort of does. But Tyrod Taylor, he can't play next week either after getting his lung punctured by the team doctor.
What happens if the Chargers are the worst team in football and they have the number 1 pick?
They might not even be the worst team in their division.
Who's worse?
The Broncos.
Yeah.
All right. Final 2 games we're going to combine into one because it involves 2 teams from New York that are worse than the Chargers.
New York.
The 49ers beat the Giants 36-9 with no one. And that would be the most humiliating loss of the day, except the Colts beat the Jets 36-7. Which, if you flew in from Mars and you're a new football fan, you got to pick a team to be a fan of, and it has to be a New York team. Who are you taking?
Oh boy.
I'm taking the Giants, but if it's just based on these 2 games, probably the Giants' loss was more embarrassing.
I'll take the Jets. I'll take the Jets because they're going to fire Adam Gase and get Trevor Lawrence.
I'm going to take Columbia because they're pretty good in the Ivy League.
I mean, what a awful pair of football teams.
The 49ers were down 9 starters. They had 9 starters out.
Yeah, but I mean,
that's
Sam Darnold is regressing before our eyes. Some of the decisions.
I don't think it's on Darnold.
You can't look. Some of those interceptions. I don't care who your coach is. You're not throwing those
big sixes.
That can't happen. So some of
the Colts defense was the top 10 fantasy player, like including like quarterbacks, running backs, everybody.
Well, like watching the Jets play the Giants is the type of punishment you hand out to serial killers and people that are on death row. Like, there's no way you pay to watch this game.
Who wins? Who wins a game first out of the Jets and the Giants?
Giants.
I don't know. I mean, they could both go 0-16.
What's the line for these teams next week? The Jets get the Broncos on Thursday.
So, I mean, what do you think the Broncos are saying? We get the Jets on Thursday.
The Giants play the Rams.
Loss.
Plus 12.
They're both terrible football teams. They both have issues in terms of personnel. Sadly, I have to watch the game.
The Rams are going to hang 42 on the Giants.
I have to watch. Well, look. Oh, when's that game? That's next Sunday.
4:00 next Sunday.
I have to watch the Giants game with a bunch of Giants fans in the office, and it's just torture because they know before the game, they know how it's going to play, and there's no what is the redeeming quality on this Giants team? Name it.
They have a new coach who's instilling a new culture, Ryan.
Their best players,
like Daniel Jones.
Their best players hurt. Their second best player is Daniel Jones, and he is infuriating because he turns the ball over. He makes mistakes. He won't throw the ball on time. I mean, I don't know. Dave Gettleman has not done a great job stocking his team with talent.
That seems nice.
Is that wrong?
It seems. I would say Dave Gettleman sucks, but I mean.
Oh, I see. I thought you were saying I was being mean by saying that about Dave Gettleman.
No.
So I don't know what you can say nice about the Jets either.
You know,
they didn't get shut out.
All right, let's do some winners and losers. Breech, we will start with you. Who is your winner for the week?
My winner this week are NFC East teams. Now, I know what you're thinking. That doesn't make any sense at all because Washington lost, the Cowboys lost, the Giants lost. And you know what, Debo? The Eagles were the only team in the division that didn't lose, so congratulations to you because they tied. But they are winners because think, if you're the Giants, you're 0-3. That sucks, but guess what? You're only one game out of first place. If you're Washington, you lost. You're in first place. You're the Cowboys. You're in first place. The Eagles are a half game out of first place. So all those teams, even though they're all horrible, absolutely trash, guess what? They are all still in the race to win this division because it's one game separates last place from first place.
I'm going with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 2-1. The only team in that division above 500. We just said earlier that we were concerned about the Bucs, at least I was 2 weeks ago. I'm concerned about the Saints. The Falcons are trash. Carolina won a game. That's great, but I don't think they're going to do a whole lot in terms of the division. I think Tampa Bay's in the driver's seat. And I think they're only going to get better. I think once Mike Evans and Tommy get on the same page, that's going to make it even more dangerous. And presumably Gronk will be good at some point. If not, that's okay too.
I agree that they will only get better. My winner, Canton, Ohio.
Why is that?
Have you ever been there?
I've never been there, but you know who's going to go there in like 6 or 7 years?
Me.
Phillip Rivers.
Oh boy.
The 400 career passing touchdowns now. Sixth player in NFL history with 60,000 career passing yards. Most wins by a starting quarterback since 1950. Oh, baby. He's on that list. You know who's not on that list? Eli Manning.
Oh.
He is behind Ben Roethlisberger, but Ben got drafted by an organization that knows what they're doing. The Chargers don't. And the Colts. This is a good Colts team. I want to say that. I know the Titans are Breech's little pet darling. Third best team in the AFC. The Colts are way better than the Titans.
The Colts lost to Jacksonville.
That's fine. It was week 1. Indianapolis is good. Their defense is good. Indy's going to make a deep run.
A deep run to where?
To your house to beat you up.
Mofo. All right, Breech, give me a loser.
My loser are Falcons, the Falcons fans, and everyone who lives in Atlanta who has ever cheered for the Falcons, even just for one game. It is out of hand. It is funny because I feel like we talked about this after the Bears loss, how of all the worst losses I can imagine from any NFL team for the past 10 years, like the top 5 are all Falcons losses. You probably put this on the list. We've talked about I'm wearing my Super Bowl 51 pullover just so I would not forget the memory of that loss. I sat next to Brinson at that game. Falcons are up 28-3, and we're like, it's the Falcons.
With our editor, Matthew Tabik.
Our editor was Matthew Tabik.
Who listens to the podcast and now works for the Falcons, and they haven't been good since he got there.
Ironically, no, you shouldn't say that. You don't want to make it sound like he's a jinx. And they blew a lead in the NFC title game against the 49ers in 2012. They blew that 20-0 lead, 21-0 against the Lions in London in 2014, the Super Bowl. This game is out of hand. I don't know how. You know what? The only thing I can say is I'm glad my Cincinnati Reds are playing a team from Atlanta in the MLB playoffs because Atlanta teams just choke away everything.
F you, bro. We're going to mess you up.
Oh, God. I shouldn't even brought that up. Oh, my goodness.
You're about to get cleaned.
My loser, and this one might be a little peculiar, but hear me out. The Los Angeles Chargers. And here's why. That team should be 3-0. They should have beat the Bengals in week 1. Is that who they played in week 1?
Yeah. They did beat the Bengals.
They did beat the Bengals.
They should have beat.
Don't you remember this?
Oh, he missed. He missed. Oh, and he may have pulled a hamstring or a muscle.
Elation. Yeah, I'm so tired. I forgot. Yeah, so they won in week 1. They should have beat the Chiefs in week 2, and they obviously should have beat Carolina if they did they had executed the hook and lateral right. And the reason they're losers is because, and this I'm dating myself here. This could have a little timestamp on it. If the Ravens beat the Chiefs, Chargers would be in first place. And now they're what are they? They're 1-2.
Wait, what? If the Chargers had beaten the Chiefs, and if the Ravens also beat the Chiefs, if the Chargers had beaten the Panthers, then the Chargers would be in first place?
Yes, the Chargers were 3-0, as they very easily could have been.
So if 19 things happened, the Chargers would be.
It's funny you called me out on that.
You sound like me talking about the Chargers.
I was going to say, the last 90 minutes have been you and Breech talking about, well, the Lions can go 6-0, and then the next thing you know. So that's my loser, the Chargers. They should be 3-0. I'll just leave it at that.
I'll say the city of New York. Your football teams are doo-doo.
Straight
You got,
up.
you know what? You know what? The good news for New York.
They got Buffalo, baby.
Well, that's not the city of New York.
State of New York.
State of New York has Buffalo. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. The best team in New York is the Bills. What, by the way, Debo, you probably know this. Did the Yankees make the playoffs?
Yeah.
Okay. I assume they did.
Not the Mets.
Why are you saying that's their last hope right now?
So I was really hoping the Yankees didn't make the playoffs.
Ironically, they're playing
it's like
a team from Cleveland.
Were they playing Cleveland? What seed were the Yankees? 5? What a pathetic bunch of clowns. You signed Stanton. You have Judge. You got to get J.A. Happ and Garrett Cole, and you finish 5th in the AL. They were talking about, like, we're going to win 60 games. We're going to go 60-0. You losers, New York. You got the 5th best team in the AL. You got the 2 worst teams in the AFC, and your whole sports scene sucks. That's it. That's the show.